There's a lot more items to be had elsewhere, so you know the runners are definitely going to want to clear out the standard chests early on. But I wouldn't be surprised if so. There's sorry, ladies and gentlemen who are chatting there. We now have confirmation that the audio is working for us again. I just heard myself on the stream, so.
We'll make do, guys. It's all right. I mean, I know you like to hear the dulcet sounds of our voices here, but you know, all good things in moderation here.
Yeah, absolutely. So, as we're saying, this is a matchup between Gemini and zer0rush. Both are 5-0 runners, looking to make their way to a perfect Swiss round. So one runner will continue on that path with a 6-0 record. One will go down to 5-1. But both have made it into the bracket stages. So this is just a race for glory at this time.
Yeah, a little bit of bragging rights. I think everyone wants to go 7-0 into it. With the seeding randomized in the bracket stages, it really is just kind of for funsies. zer0rush having an amazing time here. Not that Gemini's having a bad time through this escape sequence, but my goodness, Zero is just putting it all to work here.
Yeah, powering through, and we've got some great items to start with through this sequence. Of course, we've all seen already, but a sword plus a bow. You've got ranged weapon, you've got a melee weapon. You can't really ask for much more coming out of the escape sequence, and the three chests available because we found an early bomb is also going to just give them that security that they won't have to head back here at any point.
And we still have not found the map yet, so it's worth noting there. And the other thing worth noting is we're kind of poor. There's a Master Sword. My goodness,
Wow.
And there's the map. So this is interesting.
Yeah, you know, we're a lantern away from having Aga be possible for Aga 1. I would imagine that both of our runners will try to avoid that particular thing as long as possible until they know absolutely sure that it's required.
I'll be really interested to see how these guys are going to end up handling Kakariko Village. It's kind of the standard play, but unless they get some rupee drops, I mean, Gemini's got 20 rupees, Zero's got now 21, so this is, while they've gotten 2 swords and escape, and the bow, and a shovel, they're po. I mean, yeah, they're so po that Kansas has denied them welfare.
Now, a sub 6-minute escape sequence is really, really nice. I'm going to imagine that both runners, since they've picked up that Master Sword, are going to spend the time to just double-check Lumberjack Cave. They're going to get a good pull on this tree here, find the replenishment for their arrows. That's nice. zer0rush giving us a look at what's in the crab. Oh, just hearts.
And Zero finds, and just a big 20 there as well. So Aga not necessarily required, at least for the ledge item, but at least an early Master Sword at least hints towards it being a possibility.
Yeah, and that has to weigh heavily on their minds. They're going to be curious about that, especially should they find the lantern in the early stages. But some sequence breaks may allow them to avoid it. We see a piece of heart there in the mushroom spot. zer0rush is now going to head down to the bandits' hideaway and see what last item there is here before Kakariko Village. It is the artisanal arrow. He's leaving it there to gain more age. I don't know if that's a good idea. That is the finest crafted arrow in all of Hyrule.
I mean, there are times where that particular arrow will cost you 500 rupees from Zora. That would be worth a pickup, IMO.
Yeah, you know, neither of them choosing that fine item. And zer0rush even had room for it. 29 out of 30 arrows. We'll see if that comes back to haunt him later on in the seed.
Okay, guys, we're just joking. It absolutely will not. Don't. You can stop all of that in chat. It's okay. But Zero's going to be dipping in here. He's got the bombs, but no groups, so we'll see what Blind and the Well have for us. Kind of standard runs.
Oh,
more bombs.
A few more bombs, a little bit more rupees. There's another fetch quest in the form of the mushroom, and 20 more rupees. Not too bad, you know. We're getting close to that bottle vendor money. And in fact, we should have it based on these chests that were the pots that we just picked up here in the back of Blind's house.
And a single rupee. So this seed is, you know, a little bit of feast, a little bit of famine. 2 fetch quests, and both the single arrow and one of the 2 green rupees. At the same time is giving you a bow start, which is absolutely nice, and a Master Sword start.
Yeah, which really helps out on those early. And there we have our Power Glove, so we're getting very close to Dark World access in the form of the required items to get there. Still going to need the Moon Pearl as well, though, later on. Wow!
Tempered? What?
3 swords before we've even really had to do anything in this particular seed, so that's very nice for our runners.
Bottle Merchant giving you kind of a half refund, so it's nice.
Well,
but
they'll be able to pick up more bombs as their way out of Kakariko Village if they desire to just replenish that.
So, Tempered Sword to start. This has the potential to be quite a fast seed right now, although we're still waiting on some key items. We really don't have much direction other than a bunch of fetch quests right now.
Yeah, and of course the runners know that no matter what, like they've probably already pre-planned their path for the next foreseeable part of the seed. I would imagine that they'll do they'll head out to the dig game, or to the grove, to do the dig spot and hit Mini Moldorm Cave. Probably, oh, and we see Cane of Samaria there on the library shelf. And then, in the worst case, they'll have Eastern Palace as a fully completable dungeon that is a crystal dungeon. Obviously, if they don't find the lantern, it will require a small sequence break, but nothing to worry about for runners of this level.
And Zero does see our first bottle, actually, in the race game, and he says, yep, that's one more location I can go ahead and check. One more little breadcrumb to follow at this point. So he's going to go ahead and grab that. It'll be interesting to see if he routes back up or if he routes over to get the shovel spot and just knows he'll come back to Kakariko later.
Yeah, that will be a telling thing. It is kind of a big set of backtracking, and you know you're going to hit Kakariko Village at some point later on, but when it's this early on, there's the potential for that being a very valuable item. And it's interesting to see what they'll do. It looks like Zero's going to just go ahead and dig up and forego the sick kid check until a later time.
Yeah, I tend to like this particular play by zer0rush. It looks like Gemini's going to be making a very similar play at this point. Just because there's so much that you can still do in Kakariko, and we get, oh, don't treat the shield that way. I know it's the Fisher Price my first shield. Come on, Zero. Man, buddy.
And then he threw it on the ground, you know. Just didn't want to see that. Same with Gemini.
Gemini, come on, guys, you're killing me, Smalls.
Alrighty, and so now we're getting our traditional kind of pathway here. What's interesting is zer0rush used a save and quit. Gemini's going to go ahead and just lift up this rock. And I think that that's actually going to have been a small time save for Gemini on account of he was slightly behind there. When you have the Titans, or when you have the Power Glove, it's probably a minor time save to not save and quit out when you're already at dig spot.
Maybe. Either way, we see 300 roots, so we're starting to get close to Zora money here. Although the Zora routing wouldn't necessarily be terribly lucrative right now. You can certainly get there, but you can't do Waterfall Ferry. You can't even really fake flipper it because of Moon Pearl and another bottle. So that might actually point extra towards that bottle, Sick Kid.
Yeah, and a green goo bottle is nice to have in the event that you know, there's several places where magic can be worried to have. Will you have enough magic power? So that'll give them a little bit of insurance should that come up. Zero makes quick work of these mini Moldorms, and we find the magic powder, another piece of heart, a fairy bottle, the hook shot, and Bombos medallion. So a very nice cave here in Mini Moldorm.
Yeah, that's super nice. So we got, it's worth noting, so we do have 3 different fetch quest items. Okay. But I think the hook shot is probably the nicest item because it unlocks so much. You can go ahead and sequence break up to Death Mountain to get 8 items over there with that hook shot being able to hook across. That might be a really tempting play at this point for both zer0rush and Gemini. Gemini opting, instead of going to check the Ice Rod Cave like Zero's doing, is going right over here to Eastern Palace. It's the more dense location, but there's no other real decent time to check Ice Rod Cave. If this is something important, advantage Zero.
Yeah, unless you have the flute perhaps or the flippers. Either way, it's still not it's a single item. And for Gemini, this is it turns out to be a pretty good deal because that was just 3 bombs in Ice Rod Cave, so a little bit of a risk paid off.
Well, and there's the Moon Pearl, and he's saying, no, I'm done. I'm going elsewhere. That isn't quite Dark World access, though.
Yeah, and when he save it quits over here to the Sanctuary, I have a feeling he's going to either head over to Kakariko and do Sick Kid, but more likely, he's going to head up Death Mountain, make use of that hook shot in order to activate all those 8 items, as you say, that he has potential.
Yeah, part of me just wants to go ahead and go to Eastern. I mean, even a scrub like myself can do the Dark Rooms in Eastern, and you can go ahead and complete it with the bow that you have. Part of me says you're here, go ahead and do it. I know you can route it in with Pod Leader a little bit faster, but I don't know if you're going to get much faster than Tempered Sword through here.
Yeah, and so we're seeing both of these runners with two different strategies as far as that is concerned. So we'll see which one it pays off for, or if it just equalizes shortly thereafter. Gemini got a little turned around there in the dark room, but he's quickly recovered and is now exiting with the old man. Gets a 5 rupee tip for his trouble.
I mean, you must be a pretty bad Uber driver to only get a 5 rupee tip. Just saying, Gemini.
Now, it should be noted that, of course, this is a sequence break for Gemini. This entire set of checks is not going to lead to the lantern, but could lead to many other useful items. Zero Rush, on the other hand, is fully within logic, so anything could show up as far as that's concerned.
And so far, nothing for Zero Rush. Gemini is going to be making the play over here to the east side of Death Mountain. Again, it's a very dense play, but it is kind of a sequence break. But it's a good sequence break, because anything you find up here, you know, logically will be locked behind either the lamp or the flute, depending on what we have access to. So you can kind of make certain logical conclusions based on what you end up finding there.
Yeah, and both of those items aren't really necessary to beat most dungeons. Of course, Misery Mire is necessary. You need a flute to get to it. But all of the other dungeon items or things that you need to clear are fair game here. So the lantern itself, I don't think Gemini or Zero Rush really needs to complete this game.
They don't need it. It's just good logical information, I think, at this point. And Zero Rush only finds the map and compass, so nothing necessarily in Eastern that he can find. There's the flute and the cape and blue mail. What?
This is the second high item location cave, and a couple of hearts to round it off, one of them completing a heart container.
So that flute being up here absolutely points us to say that the lamp is logically required, so we're not going to find the lamp anywhere in Misery Mire, for example. We're not going to find the lamp anywhere up here in the Dark World. There's just a lot that this points us towards.
Oh, Gemini forgetting he's not in the Dark World. So he's going to have to make his way back around to climb up Paradox Cave again. He wants to take a look at what's in Spiral Cave here. So this is actually very nice for Gemini, because he's got two reasons to go back to Kakariko Village now. The flute activation, of course, to release the swag duck, and the sick kid bottle check. So that just helps make that a more comfortable decision making. Sees the Book of Medora there on Floating Island as well.
Oh, that's interesting. King Fetch Quest there. That might also end up being our access to Desert Palace. Well, no, it can't necessarily be our access to Desert Palace, because if it is, you absolutely have to have the Titan's Mitts anyway, and the mirror in order to get that particular thing, and we already have the flute, so that can't be our logical access to Desert Palace.
Yep, so he'll have flute mirror before he'll be able to get the Book of Medora, so. Just 10 more arrows to the bottom of Spiral Cave. So that finishes off the Death Mountain checks that Gemini has available to him. He's going to probably... I would be surprised if he does anything except turn in the flute and the sick kid bottle.
I mean, since you're right there, you might as well go ahead and do it. It's a quick check, logical play, and then you can flute to wherever else you need to go. Makes absolute sense right now.
Yeah, and meanwhile, we've kind of been neglecting it, but Zero Rush has completed all of Eastern Palace, picked up his first crystal at 19 minutes 28 seconds, but didn't really find anything of progression-related value here other than that crystal. So didn't really hurt Gemini that he decided to diverge, and in fact gave him the flute, which is a very, very nice item to have.
The question becomes, where is that lamp? It's likely, if that's our next progression item, we might be looking at Agina logically for the lamp. I imagine Zero might be making that same sequence break here directly, though.
Yeah, so they're all going to, like, end up meeting up again, perhaps, in just a few moments at the same kind of location. There's the lantern on Sick Kid. So Gemini is going to have an even easier time if he chooses to go through Eastern Palace. Going to pick up some bombs here from the shop because he's down to 1, which is, I think, a good play.
Logical play, and yeah, absolutely. That means, I mean, everything that Gemini just did is logically open right now. Interesting to note, that also means that if any of these fetch quest turn-ins don't end up netting either the hammer or another lift upgrade, then we could be seeing an Agadive even with all this lovely goodness that we have.
Ooh, half magic for the mushroom turn-in. That's a very nice combination there. Sort of a French vanilla location, to be fair. There's still a couple of sequence breaks as well that Gemini or zer0rush could take to kind of make this, to try to avoid the Aga. They have the fake flippers potential now to pick up quite a few items now that they found the Moon Pearl. As well as a little bit more activity. Oh, I guess that's about it, I think.
Yeah, I mean, it just depends, you know, what kind of sequence breaking are you willing to do? I mean, it's possible that the fake flippers could end up holding something, and that's probably a risk that both these runners might be willing to take. But if you're reading the seed right, you might think, you know, maybe I should just go ahead and do Aga, because anything else could just be a waste of time.
Yeah, absolutely. It's really going to be a gut check call for one of them to decide to go into the castle tower or to do the fake flippers and see what they receive in that regard. Could easily pay off, and it could also be a pain and hurt them time-wise if they choose to do the fake flippers. Especially since they're looking for 2 very specific items in either the hammer or the second lift upgrade.
All right, so both these runners kind of tracing each other's steps. I do want to give a quick shout out here to our tracker, JLo7, putting in all the work tracking for us. Thank you so much, JLo. You're doing God's work.
Yeah. Greatly appreciate keeping all those little lights lit up at the bottom of the screen. Really does help us and the viewers fully understand and participate what's going on in the matchup.
All right, so Zero getting his knowledge that, yep, there's the book. That's interesting. Okay, if you know that logically you already have access to Desert Palace, all that book does is unlock, effectively, the 2 tablets, the Ether and Bombo's tablet. Do you still go out of your way to get that?
I think it'll depend heavily on where they are at when they head to Hookshot Cave. If they're on the hunt for one-offs or single items, you're definitely going to want to have those because it hurts to miss them. So I would say that it's a pretty easy decision to pick up, considering you're probably already going through Hookshot Cave anyway.
So Zero is getting ready to go over here to Kakariko Village, turn in his flute, turn in his bottle, and get that lamp knowledge, knowing that Aga is officially unlocked. I'm really curious to see what Zero ends up doing. Gemini will be finishing up in Eastern a little bit before.
Yeah, I'll be interested to see if you're going to leverage this flute in order to go check Agnes Cave and see what's on Desert Ledge. just in case as well, like it's a few seconds that might save you a lot of heartache before diving into Castle Tower.
All right, so Zero's turning in his fetch quest as well, which is a smart play. You've already got the powder, so you know that you're not going to be needing any sort of fake powder strats at this point.
And Gemini also making incredibly quick work of the Armos Knights. And it turns out that we are pretty much neck and neck at this moment. Look at our two runners. Gemini's going to leave Eastern Palace and be at the exact same position that zer0rush is after he has finished turning in that quest. And looks like Zero's decided, yep, it's time to fake Flipper.
I mean, it's a good check, and looks like Gemini's also good. Gemini also needs to check the Ice Rod Cave, so worth noting there. Zero is going to come over here, check the Likailia Island. It is just a vanilla piece of heart. Then Hobo and likely up to Zora area. He's got the 589 rupees.
And this could be very telling. So Hobo just hanging on to an extra large quiver, 10 arrow capacity upgrade.
All right, so here comes Zero. Gemini setting up his fake flipper using good old bush strats.
Yep, if you hold directly up and to the left after killing that bush, you will basically land yourself right in the correct position to jump. Or up and to the right. My lefts and my rights.
It's okay. We understood what you were saying. And Zero going to be the first to check this particular sequence break to see what exactly we have.
Ooh, silver arrows.
Nice.
A very nice find, yes.
It's not progression though, and you're looking for something to let you avoid Aghanim right now, so it's nice. It's not going to let you skip Aga though.
Yeah, they're really hoping to find either the hammer or the Titan's mitts. If either of which is on King Zora here, then there was no sequence break required to dodge Aga 1. There is, of course, Agina's Cave as well in the desert that could potentially hold an item. But it's getting pretty close to the likelihood that this being Aga required seed.
Fourth bottle. What is this? I mean, did we accidentally switch it to easy mode, guys? We got Tempered Sword already, 4 bottles, already got the silver arrows. We're at sub half an hour. Who messed up? Someone's head will roll.
And Zero's going to head down to the desert. He's going to check everything he can before making that call. Sees that the fire rod is on the desert ledge. That's some good information to have. Can't quite grab it yet, but you know where it is.
All right, so Zero getting ready to do his Aga dive. Gemini picks up his bottle, and it's just a big 20. To Aga! We go!
Let's see if both runners make the same call here. Gemini is one check behind. No, he's got his flute out. He's going to go to Agha's Cave. So, slightly behind zer0rush. Now, one of the largest difficulties of dealing with, or frustrations of dealing with the Castle Tower climb, is simply usually your fighter sword, or maybe if you're lucky, master sword if it's the vanilla game, Tempered Sword makes a lot of these like hits on these little mobs along the way. Incredibly easy to deal with.
I mean, yeah, this is not the worst Aga that we could possibly be having. It'd be nice if we had like a fire rod, but silver arrows even climbing this thing, and then tempered sword, you don't even have to spin. You just kind of one-shot most of the things here. So this is going to be, if we had boots, it would be an even faster seed, but I think they're both going to be happy-ish, or as happy as you can be going through here.
Yeah, absolutely. It's really just an exercise in making sure you don't fall off these bridges that are coming up on Zero's side. You can sometimes get trolled a little bit by the narrow bridges.
A nickname for these bridges popped up in my head, but I can't say them because they're not family friendly.
Very quick path through these dark rooms for zer0rush.
Absolutely, and he is putting those silver arrows to work.
Yeah, and I have an opportunity to pick up a few hearts here even if he wants to. But probably unnecessary. So, ladies and gentlemen in chat, your opportunity is about to present itself, where we can play the guess how many blue balls Aganon was going to give us, or Aganon will give us today.
I'm going to be a chicken and go for the statistically most likely 3 Aga blue balls.
3 blue balls. Well, let's keep count. I guessed 5 last time that I did this and was correct, so I'm going to go with 5 again.
I mean, I could absolutely see thinking that, the seed has been too nice. Let's give him like an 8 blue ball right now. But likely not going to happen.
Well, we're at 1.
Uno. I feel a little bit like a children's TV show that teaches you counting. 1 blue ball.
So far, Aga being very, very generous here. Only 2.
2 Aga blue balls. And there it's done.
And now we have our Dark World access in the form of the castle entrance. Let's see if the ledge gives us anything that we need, and it is just a piece of heart container. So this really does change things up. Turtle Rock and Thieves Town are our other 2 pendants on this map check, Turtle Rock being a green pendant, and our 5-6 crystals are in Swamp and Palace of Darkness. So we don't really have too many locations we can check. There is the potential to take the long way around with the hook shot up north across, but without the hammer, going into the Palace of Darkness, is the call to be had by Zero, but potentially not going to be fruitful.
Yeah, I don't know. We still haven't. The hook shot still seems to be leading us somewhere, because the hookshot really didn't lead us to any progression up on Death Mountain. I want to say that we're going to need the hookshot to get across the waterway up a little bit north here. So I feel like something's going to be over in the Village of Outcasts area in terms of our progression, at least our next breadcrumb in the sequence. This is just a gut feeling that I'm having. If something is here in pod, so be it. I would lose this race. What's new?
Yeah,
but
I agree. It just seems too obvious that we've received this hook shot and it opens up that. Now Gemini looks like is deciding to make that call, so he seems to be following that breadcrumb. Again, we're going to see this difference could significantly impact things.
Yeah, and I don't really want to say that what Zero is doing is a bad play in any stretch of the imagination. It looks, I mean, they're both really solid plays. One is, I would say, a safer play in zer0rush's part because you're right here. Gemini, I think, is trying to read into the seed a little bit more, which is what I would do, but I'm also like 1-4. So what do I do?
I don't have a 5-0 record attached to my name as well, so...
These guys are at, I wouldn't say the pinnacle, but they're very close to the pinnacle of this particular game. So what they're doing, I can't really question judgment at this point.
I did like there, we noticed that Gemini went to look at Bumper Cave's reward because we did pick up that cape fairly early on. So a good call there, but just seeing that it was a full heart container. We're now in the Village of Outcasts End, so the C-shaped house provides us with another complete heart container.
Oh, and chat also pointing out, worth noting, Gemini also didn't have Kiki money. You need 110. He's got 107. Didn't want to farm it up.
Yeah, you have to feel like if you're in that dark Palace of Darkness area that you can find 3 rupees, but in any event, red mail from the chest game is very nice, and now he definitely has the money needed.
zer0rush looking like he's going to take a death warp, but he forgot he has a fairy, I'm sure.
Oh.
Oh, no,
he must have released it.
I completely missed him releasing it.
Gemini kind of taking a risk here, going into a pendant Thieves Town. Well, there's still checks to be had. I like it, you know, at least for the very first 4 checks.
I mean, it's... Man, I don't... Yeah, you get the first 4 because they're relatively quick. But if there's anything beyond the first 4, I don't know. I don't know. I don't know how I feel about this play from Gemini. If he goes further in, yeah.
You got to anticipate that there's a very high likelihood that you're going to enter Thieves Town no matter what, just because of the nature of it. And so perhaps you can expect that even if you go early and it doesn't pay off, that perhaps when it gets to the point where you're hunting for that last item, your opponent will go and full complete it. But it looks like he's just going to go for the front 4 and abandon ship on it.
Yeah, when you have, what is it, 4, 5, I mean, he's got, what, 9, almost 10 hearts and red mail. That'd be a long death warp right there. Just walk out. You'll be in better shape.
So meanwhile, zer0rush has quite a few more checks now to make here in Palace of Darkness. Lots of... Oh, and there's the hammer, so...
Oh my god!
The hammer.
And Pod is one of those ever-elusive 5-6 crystals, so that's huge for zer0rush.
Yeah, that's going to make a significant advantage for him, just in overworld mobility, as well as making progress through the crystals. When conjoined with the flute, he has the ability to flute back to Kakariko Village and take the portal to the Dark World from here now, instead of having to make that long trek around the north part of the Dark World. So
yeah, that would be absolutely nice. But man, so much of the world is opened up to him now. You'd like to have the mirror for a few things, but let's see. You can do Tower of Hera is completely accessible to you now as well, if you flute up there and kind of take the long way around. Let's see. Still kind of waiting on Titan's Mitts though for a whole lot, aren't you?
Yeah, that definitely helps. Or the flippers. The Titan's Mitts, of course, would make things a lot quicker for routing around, moving around the Dark World. Oh, zer0rush takes a death here.
Pretty sure that was a death warp, so he can get back to the beginning.
And now Gemini is going to be down to give us a look at what's in the Hype Cave. We'll see if it's hypey at all. We've already had a couple of caves that were fairly great. Paradox Cave is very good, and
I think we got to have something here. It's got to have some key to progression. I mean, he's set for rupees now, so that's no longer a concern. More rupees, bombs, and love. So no.
Yeah, and that's really pushing him now to Palace of Darkness. So, well, he will have to catch up a little bit on zer0rush coming out of the Palace of Darkness. His opponent, zer0rush, is going to have to make all the same checks that Gemini just did. So, well, I believe he'll have a slightly faster chance. zer0rush will probably pull ahead slightly, get a little bit more advantage here, just based on the ability to enter the Dark World from Kakariko Village. It won't be a tremendous change in positioning.
Well, what else do we have? I mean, right now we can go up to Tower of Hera, which might have our progression. We can also dip Skull Woods, which might also have our progression. Only 2 items in each of those locations, though. So pick your poison. Which do you choose?
Yeah, and if I were zer0rush, like I say, I think I would be doing those overworld checks just for the volume. And then after that, you know, my general rule of thumb is always, you know, if there's a crystal dungeon you can complete, you should probably do that. And so I would expect Tower of Hera. Ooh, flippers.
Where were flippers?
They were also in the Palace of Darkness, so that gives him access to
nothing.
Oh no,
I mean,
it's the mirror for Swamp still.
Yeah, logical access to stuff we've already checked, but otherwise, you know, nothing.
Yeah, Hobo and Waterfall of Wishing, which both of our runners have already checked, and that's about it in that particular case. And Lake Hylia Island, once they find the mirror, Swamp.
All right. Meanwhile, Gemini is on his way through here. He's going to be very happy to find all the progression that he eventually finds here. Absolutely.
And there are the flippers.
Man, that moment when you defeat a boss so hard it crashes the stream.
Yeah, just full on blew up the entire console that zer0rush is playing on. We'll likely see his stream come back and we'll have lost a little bit of time, or at least we'll have lost a little bit of information depending on what he's been doing in this time. But I'm sure at some point we'll get all caught up. And there we go. He's made his way back to Skullwoods. So he's probably came out of Palace of Darkness, fluted over to Kakariko, and hit the Skullwoods warp. He's going to show us what's in the, or potentially what items we might find in the front half of Skullwoods. We do know that the Fire Rod, of course, is on Desert Ledge, so until we get the mirror or the lift upgrade, we're not going to be able to complete Skullwoods at this time.
Big key, that's nice. Otherwise, we've not... I mean, the first thing was a map, wasn't it? So it was worthless.
So just 2 items that we could potentially pick up here in Skullwoods, and 3 locations, or 2 locations that are behind the Fire Rod, so we may not actually find anything. So we've got a bomb jump that we need to make here. It's zer0rush lines that up fairly precisely on his second attempt and finds the Titan's Mitts. Now that is a fantastic item to locate. That opens up an awful lot of additional places for him to route into now.
Yep, that's the progression we were looking for right now. Mitts opens up, for example, I mean, with the Bombos, we have access to Ice Palace, which if we really want to do, we can go ahead and do. But also Dark Death Mountain, and since you want to go up there and do Tower of Hera anyway, that might be our next destination, because that's a whole lot of item locations between Tower of Hera and Dark Death Mountain.
Yeah, and with the incredible number of green potion bottles that they picked up along with the cape, it's very easy to go ahead and do Spike Cave on top of Hookshot Cave, pick up a bunch of items there in Super Buddy Cave as well, and then do Tower of Hera. Or perhaps Tower of Hera before Spike Cave, but I digress. So zer0rush is out of places to check here in Skullwoods, but can't complain with the discovery of the Titan's Mitts. He's going to go ahead and look at Bumper Cave, as he hasn't had that information yet.
Just leaving a bomb saying, "Thanks guys for sniping me. Get out of my face."
So Gemini takes a while to get that death in the Dark Hallway for a Death Warp, but manages to succeed. It's funny how when you want to die, it sometimes is hard.
Yeah, that may seem counterintuitive to people who aren't speedrunners, but yeah, sometimes dying is faster than coming back to the beginning.
Now, it might be interesting to see if zer0rush decides to do any dip into Thieves Town or not. He has a lot of places to go without that, so I think that if I were in his shoes, it wouldn't be something that I would plan on doing. But he is here right now, so we'll see if he pulls the trigger on that.
Well, and he has a distinct advantage because he can go ahead and route in, doing the digging game and grabbing Jeremiah to do his world tour before saving and quitting as well. So he can route this whole area in a little bit more efficiently. And
he's got hammer pegs as well.
Magic powder, which we haven't done as of yet.
Yeah, there are a lot of items here. That was a very nice kind of route to have taken to hit that Titan's Mitt up. So we know he's just going to get a blue rupee here on, like, dig 30, it seems. Or probably closer to dig 24 or 25, but suffice it to say, more digs than you would like to have to make. There it is.
17. So, yeah, still not great. And he's just going on. He's not going to be doing Jeremiah or the others. That's maybe he has plans of what he wants to do immediately after and is going to be avoiding that for now.
Yeah, that is surprising to me. He has to do Hype Cave still as well, I believe. But just, it's right there. I'm surprised that he didn't know. He has no mirror to easily get back to the blacksmith, but that shouldn't have changed his mind too much.
Well, that tells me he already knows exactly what he wants to do after Hype Cave. He's already got the plan, and if you have Jeremiah following you, like, it will limit what you can do. You won't be able to dip into any dungeons. You won't be able to go really anywhere else. So I suspect Zero already has a plan of what he wants to do directly after Hype Cave. We'll just see where he goes.
So he's choosing to save and quit out.
This is interesting. Gemini is actually going up Death Mountain, does not have the Titansmiths, only has the Power Glove, so the only thing Gemini could really do up here is going to be to go up to Tower of Hera, taking the long way. Trying to read the logic and saying, yeah, Hera's a crystal dungeon I can complete. Let's go ahead and take a dip in here.
Yeah, and that's perfectly reasonable. You don't feel like going into Skull Woods in the hopes of finding progression, perhaps, and just not the most efficient call. And we have the benefit of a little bit of foreknowledge to let us know that, but for him, it does make sense. So zer0rush is choosing to go ahead and do Ice Palace, another completable crystal dungeon, so we'll see how he makes his way through this slippery pace.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, again, it's a crystal dungeon. You're playing to your advantage of the Titansmith, so there could be something here. I don't know about it because if I don't know. I just have a hard time thinking. I would rather save this for when I have, for example, Ice Rod to be able to make Cold Stare just that much easier. Plus, you have all of Dark Death Mountain and Tower of Hera, another crystal dungeon you could be doing. I don't know. I think he's just kind of going to a crystal dungeon that has the advantage of his last item that he has. We'll see if it pays off, though.
Yeah, and in the meantime, Gemini discovers that we're not basement locked out of Tower of Hera right now, although he has the lantern, so in the event that was the case, he could have taken care of it. Perhaps we'll get lucky and not have to go into the basement. We'll find out in just a few moments. So our first item here in Tower of Hera is the +5 bomb capacity upgrade, and we have 2 more locations to check, the big key chest and off Troll Dorm, so we'll find out if the basement will plague us.
Come on, small key. Come on. I kind of want the basement to plague us a little bit. I enjoy going to the basement. Yes, big small key.
So Troll Dorm, will you be reasonable today or obnoxious? We'll find out in just a few moments. With Tempered Sword, it's not too bad. 3 swings is all it takes, or a swing and a spin. Ooh, that was close. And the basement is required. Or at least is holding an item. And since Gemini was up here also looking for progression, I guarantee he's going to head back in. Although now that I've said that, he could easily prove me wrong in just a few moments.
Nah, you gotta head back in. When you're looking for progression, you've already committed the time. You have to commit to your gambles. You committed to coming up here, hoping that one of the 2 items is up here. Go ahead and do it. So we'll see what Gemini ends up finding in the basement here.
Yeah, and you really, it's hard, but we are now definitely hoping that Gemini, after this particular play, gets rejected off of the coffee break twice. 3rd time's a charm. And as I was saying, for our perspective, we're really hoping that Gemini decides, hey, it's time to take a look at Skullwoods' chest when he finishes this Tower of Hera play. And incidentally, zer0rush has made a very good time through Ice Palace, but it has not provided him with anything of value at this point, so...
Nope, nothing as of yet. Looks like he's going to be going over here. He has not done this freeze orb room. He's going to try to bomb jump it. Man, that was a clean bomb jump.
Yeah, absolutely, and it helps a lot also he's got the half magic, so his bomb boasting here is not going to run afoul of not having enough energy for that last boss. Cold Stare Bombos. Although I suppose you pick up 2 little chests right before you drop down. So Gemini gonna go ahead and check Spike Cave.
Yep, Spike Cave in Logic, half magic, a hammer, and the cape. So worthwhile check while you're up here.
And the hook shot, of course, also makes it just a little bit easier as you get to exploit those invincibility frames while you're being pulled.
Just making it beep. And hey, the most important item in the game.
Yes,
No, not really.
a bug net is vital for your ability to be ultra swag on Agate 2 later on.
And look, zer0rush got a crystal. We have no idea what was in the big treasure chest. We have no idea what was on Gold Stare. So, yeah.
And we're going to get a nice look at the Mad Batter here on Gemini's side, so something new to see.
Yeah, this might be interesting. I'm really interested in what Gemini's going to find here. Maybe, hopefully.
Oh, 3 bombs. What a curse. So Zero is now going ahead and doing the Dark Side of Death Mountain play, following up and finishing with the Spike Cave check as well as Tower of Hera. So lots of goodies potentially to be found here.
Yeah, Ice Palace Crystal, but doesn't look like, if we're checking his menu right, wasn't really anything worthwhile there, so he had to full clear it for not much.
Yeah, and the fact that neither Tower of Hera or Ice Palace provide us with anything actually kind of makes this play into Dark Death Mountain more likely to have something of value. So we'll see what, if anything, zer0rush gets out of this play. Or perhaps we won't. So when we get zer0rush back and he's in Goma, it'll be we'll know what happened.
Meanwhile, Gemini finds at least the first, opens the first chest, doesn't find a whole lot of anything. Probably hoping for something. Will be doing his bomb jump, and will be very happy to find the Titan's Mitts here.
Yeah, but he immediately save and quits out. He knows that he's got to go some. Gets up to the mountain check, so we'll probably be able to see what zer0rush is finishing picking up. As oh nope, Gemini flutes away, and he's gonna go and look at Meyer's Shed area, Checkerboard Cave. Well, he can't do Checkerboard Cave, but he can do Meyer's Shed, pick up the knowledge of what medallion is necessary for Misery Meyer. Turns out that it is Bombos, so all we're looking for now is the boots to make Misery Meyer completable, so that we can pick up King. And Quake Medallion.
Hi, Zero. How you doing? Open up Misery Meyer.
So Zero potentially must have. Did he find the boots to pick up the cane? I don't know.
No, I didn't see boots or cane in his inventory when he just did that quick menu. Did he already complete Tower of Hera, though? Or just not opt for it?
Yeah, that's very interesting. As well, he would have hoped. Oh no, he would have needed Miro to pick up the boots. Well, we're gonna find out on Gemini's screen exactly what we saw, what we missed.
So far, not a whole lot of anything for Gemini.
Yep, Hookshot Cave is going to be kind of what we hope for. We'll see a check on the medallion required for Turtle Rock as well, even though that is a pendant crystal, or a pendant dungeon. Ether medallion will be necessary to open it, so we haven't yet found that.
Ha! Zero, you get a shield. Even though you dumped one, you still get one.
So it turns out that Hookshot Cave was a big bust, just some heart containers. And so Zero definitely didn't pick up anything that he needed here.
Well, I guess that's a good thing. I would have liked to have seen him do Turtle or Tower of Hera while he was up there. Although I guess he could be saving that and mirroring over kind of his last check. But if you're already up on Death Mountain for that, I don't know.
Yeah, it's interesting to say the least to make that choice, especially when you're still looking for items. To be there and to just be like, I'll come back for it later, but we know that it wouldn't have hurt him. Meanwhile, Gemini is going to go ahead and make the Ice Palace play, which, of course, we know is not going to give him what he needs. And zer0rush still has a couple of locations to check out in Misery Mire before he has to move on to somewhere else as well.
Yep, we'll still have the big treasure chest, as well as the one little kind of annoying chest off to the side. There's our big key, so he will be moving over in that direction now.
Now, if this doesn't pay off for Zero, I think the last source, nexus of item locations, or the next kind of logical path he has is that south route with Jeremiah, Hammerpeg's Cave, the Purple Lunchbox. And for him, Mad Batter, but interesting.
Yeah, we know that's nothing, but I mean, yeah, that seems to be the next real progression, at least large density of items. Small key, because there's so many small keys in Misery Mire.
And there
Nothing.
we go. Nothing more to be had there available.
And he's making another climb up to Tower of Hera. This is, I mean, one, it's not good. B, he just got deadrocked. And C, it's going to be just another climb up Death Mountain that you're trying to avoid. Maybe you might be feeling a little bit tilted if you were zer0rush at this point in time. Like, I've done this too many times.
Yeah, it never feels good to make this many climbs up Death Mountain, especially when you don't really need to. Sometimes a seed will logically force it on you, but this one has not done so. And Chad is right to remind us there's also, finishing up Thieves Town Pendant. 2 items still to be had in there.
That's becoming a stronger and stronger possibility. Thieves Town, I mean, one of those things we've had access to for quite a while, actually. Gemini made his first dive into there a while ago. So right now we are down to Thieves and the Jeremiah loop. And that's it, isn't it?
Yes. We can't get into Turtle Rock without the Fire Rod or the Ether Medallion. We know that Misery Mire doesn't provide us with anything if you're on Gemini's side. Swamp Palace we'll need to find the mirror for, and Desert Palace we also can't get into without either the mirror or, well, just the mirror at this point, because as soon as you have the mirror you could get the book, but why bother?
Yeah, so this is one of those seeds that feels like as soon as we have the boots, it's going to open up wide for us.
Yeah, we are boot. There's also catfish. Neither of our runners has checked catfish. Oh, Gemini having a hard time managing to step his foot on that button there. It's just bouncing off it a little bit.
Yeah, kind of two different items that are great for helping to navigate these ice rooms are not only the hookshot, but also the boots. That allows you to kind of stop on a dime and move in a certain direction. Without, if you're missing the boots or the hookshot, it really makes navigating some of these ice rooms just a pain, to say the least.
Oh, trolled by Trolldorm zer0rush. Gonna have to head back up.
So let's recap. The mirror would get us the boots, but the mirror would also get us access to all of Desert Palace. Well, we don't need Desert Palace, but the fire rod that's on the desert ledge. The boots would absolutely get us access to the Cane of Samaria, which would allow us to finish Misery Mire. Fire Rod would, of course, allow us to finish Skull Woods, and the mirror would allow us to finish Swamp Palace. So right now, we're realistically only looking for the boots and the mirror. That's it.
Yeah, that is all that is required for Go.
So if you had your choice in these runners' positions, which would you rather find first and why?
I actually think I'd like to find the boots first here, just because the locations that it opens up along the north route, Bonk Rocks, King's Tomb, are nice, easy one-off checks that the boots kind of helps you navigate towards. Zero taking all the damages from these tiles, preparing a death warp.
Yeah, I think I'm in your camp right now. I think when you're looking at it, you want the mirror over the cane, because cane could start pointing you towards dipping Pendant Turtle Rock. And I think that's the least desired thing that you want to do right now.
Yeah, and you don't want to have to go, Misery Mire is a completable dungeon, so you don't mind going in there, but I like to get my overworld checks out of the way in the late game. So perhaps that's just a bias of myself. But we'll see if either of these runners feels the same way in a few moments. Gemini is now going to start the Jeremiah rescue path.
So, Crowzone, do you know why they call him Jeremiah?
I believe we went over this last time, but it's because he was a bullfrog. and he's also a very good friend of mine.
Yep, we don't understand a word he says, but we sure would drink his wine. And yeah, I kind of go over it every time because, one, I say the same thing in every commentary that I do for those people who follow along, and it's funny.
It is. It's a good one. So Hammer Pegs doesn't pay off. Gemini save and quits out, so we're going to flute back and see if the blacksmiths are the play to have. And I have to feel that one of the checks coming from this particular route is going to pay off for Gemini and zer0rush. It turns out that Zero's decision, apparent decision not to go into Tower of Hera, has potentially allowed Gemini to catch up. Misery Mire, since it didn't pay off for him, it's kind of a linear dungeon depending on how you get keys and items. So he'll have a few seconds of a head start, but he's going to go into Thieves Town now, so that's not going to help out for him. And Gemini now is going to go into Misery Mire, so we're all going to kind of balance out in the end, it seems. Thieves Town, the back thereof, might actually hold a lot of two potential items still. Might give zer0rush a little bit of an advantage if he chooses to complete them at this point.
Yeah, I get the feeling that, these two are kind of routing around the first one to find whatever progression item. It will absolutely have the advantage. Otherwise, they're just making checks. So Gemini is going to really follow in Zero's footsteps. The big question right now is Zero going to continue on his path through Thieves Town here, or will he dip out immediately after these first four? And it looks like he's going deeper. This could be something. Not saying it is something. It could be something. Again, I think as Crozone and I were talking earlier, I think, looking at the two items to possibly can have the boots ends up locking the cane, and the mirror ends up locking the fire rod. And those are the only two. I mean, between all those items, that's all you need. So really, you only need the boots and the mirror. Of those items, I absolutely think you're going to want the mirror first because it does unlock more items. Also, it means that there's minimizes the possibility of having to dip Pendant Turtle Rock, which would be a disaster. I mean, Pendant Turtle Rock is the worst thing that you ever want to have to do because it's a commitment. Like, you have to climb all of Death Mountain, Dark World, and then you have to open it, and then you have to enter it, and if it ends up being nothing, you want to avoid it. So avoiding even the possibility is something that both these runners are going to want to avoid at this point in time. But as chat points out, there's still plenty of troll options left. I mean, Mirror could absolutely be in that horrible Pendant Turtle Rock. We could be seeing boots in Swamp Palace, for example. I mean, one could lock the other. In fact, I would say one could possibly lock the other. It just depends on what you end up finding. Oh, and there's the key. So we know that at least this dungeon isn't required for the hammer required or locked, but we are going to be able to check this treasure chest to see what's here. $10. And zero counted. That's it. That's all the items. So the back of Thieves Town is nothing. He stole fizzy lifting drinks. He gets nothing. And no, yeah, nothing. Yeah, 2 items, locations at this point that we have not checked. Purple chest and catfish. That's it.
Yeah, it's really dragging out the seed on our runners. Having a hard time finding those like 1 or 2 progression items that they must have been. I think we're going to find that they were available for a little bit of a time, especially if it's purple chest or catfish, as you say. And that's going to probably put the fear into their minds that their opponent made that check long before they did.
Yeah, both checks have been available for quite some time. Zero immediately saving and quitting because he's already checked everything will, I imagine, be going right over.
Yep, activates that flute, ready to head back to Kakariko Village. You know, and when you're 5-0 runners, the last thing that you really want in a match like this is a very trolly seed. You're just kind of, you know, anticipating that you can have a nice, like, leisurely play through the game. Sure, you hope to win, but it doesn't really matter if you don't. But it doesn't matter what kind of position you're in when a seed gets stressful like this. It does weigh on you.
Yeah, because you feel like, and I think with the gambles that these two have made, you might feel maybe a little bit silly. Like, what did I do? Did I do something wrong? And I can't say that anyone's really done anything wrong. They've made gambles, but they haven't been the right gambles.
Yeah, and it's just, it puts a little bit of fear into your head that, like, everything, all of your decision making, how, like, was flawed or something. And we know we have the benefit of being able to be objective observers, so we know that that's not the case, but it certainly can feel like that. Meanwhile, Gemini's gonna head back into Skull Woods area.
Oh, I don't know if Gemini actually picked up this last chest that's right over here.
Did he perhaps just grab the Titan's Mitts and then left? I see.
That's a possibility, which, I mean, smart check, because I think Zero has checked this, and it's a whopping bupkis.
Yeah, and PTG in chat says this is when you want a troll seed, but this isn't really a troll seed. This is based on decisions that they've made. The seed isn't forcing them to go in and out of places, although they're acting as if it is. It's really just been a couple of item locations that they could have gone to at any point.
Let's see, what did Uncle tell us at the beginning of this seed? Something like this seed is the worst?
Yeah, something about bad luck.
Ah, right. And he's not wrong. Uncle is a prophet. Gemini now going to be dipping into Thieves Town. I'm sorry. After not finding anything, Zero has already found everything and cleared out the back of Thieves Town. Didn't have to kill Blind because he counted his chest properly. We will see what ends up happening here. Is it the purple chest?
Yeah. Now, if this one doesn't pay off and it's required catfish, it'll be very interesting.
I mean, we need to get, like, are there any catfish memes? Yeah. Oh.
So if he goes to 5, oh, no, he can actually go in through the agate portal here up in the castle. So yeah, he's heading right up towards catfish, I believe, at this time. He knows that that's the next and final place that he has to check.
What are we hoping for? Are we hoping for boots, or are we hoping for mirror?
You know what? We're gonna have to, I think, find boots here. Mirror is just too nice.
You're hoping for that Turtle Rock, aren't you?
Well, yes, a little bit.
You don't have to lie. It's all right. Accept that you're a little bit of a masochist, and you will be much happier with your life. Just accept who God wanted you to be.
Alrighty, so the moment of truth. What will we find? Of course, to get into Turtle Rock, we'd also have to find Ether, so that's a little bit of a iffy call. Boots will give them access to Candace and Mario, let them finish Misery Mire.
Plus, you'll have King's Tomb and Bonk Rocks, so you'll get a few more item locations to check. But yeah, I think you really want the mirror right here.
Yeah, mirror is what you get.
Well, you can't always get what you want.
So you're gonna head back up to Death Mountain. Another for Zero Rush. This is, I don't even want to know how many times he's done this. Oh, or not. He's gonna take the other route. Okay.
Yeah. He's taking the other route. He's gonna go over here, get the Fire Rod. Maybe checking things like K45. You're not. I don't think you checked the book yet. Because you can get the Fire Rod, you can get Checkerboard Cave, you can go ahead and clear out Skull Woods, you can go ahead and clear out Swamp Palace right now.
Yeah, and that's another very high level item count crystal dungeon. So a good call. Without a doubt, Gemini takes the Death Warp here to get out, knowing that there's nothing of value here in Thieves Town left for him to look at. He's probably going to pick up the purple chest.
I mean, it's a logical play, and what we're seeing here is that this is kind of a linear seed from this point forward, like at least from where these guys are. Zero is going to dip Desert Palace, see what we find here. It's going to be a whole lot of nothing because it's going to be a Bootslock pendant dungeon.
Yeah, and ideally that's actually what you want to see almost.
Yeah, absolutely. You're like, oh, look, big key here. Nope. Yeah, yep, big key.
And there's your Ether, which is your Turtle Rock access. Once you make your way to the boots, wherever they may be.
Yeah, we're not touching that Turtle Rock. It was good to find an item there, because if he would have found a small key, then he would have had to route all the way over to the other side, still bootless. Maybe get an item, maybe not, but getting that item there guarantees that that small key is in the big chest, so you're done.
So this means that we really just have to find boots here in
Zero, you don't have the book. Where are you going over here, Zero?
I think he was thinking to himself, well, I've seen the book, so I must have it. He's going to go to Cave 45.
Yeah, Cave 45 is going to be a quick check just before Swamp Palace. You know what? Because if you end up finding the boots here, you can go mode it and just call it good.
Yeah, and that is very nice. Not meant to be. So we'll see if Gemini chooses to make the exact same call here, heading down to Swamp Palace, or if he thinks, maybe I'll just pick up that book just because it's been tempting and teasing me so.
I mean, that's one item. I mean, you could check it. I don't know. You feel like you just got to go to Swamp. There's so many items in Swamp that it could be at.
Yeah, and the only reason why you might even be tempted is if you feel like you're a little bit behind and you want to have an opportunity to kind of make a play less traveled, just to see if it might give you a chance to catch up. But both of these runners probably feel, they either feel like they're way behind because they didn't go ahead and do Catfish at an early juncture, or they think, yeah, this is the way the seed wanted us to go, so must be pretty close to one another.
Can you imagine if in either of these runners had routed catfish? I mean, we've had access to catfish for, I mean, a good 40 minutes or so.
Yeah, since we entered the Dark World, we could have come here right out of Palace of Darkness. And Gemini's going to go ahead and finish up Skull Woods first, instead of heading into Swamp Palace. And you know what? For the same reasons that you said you check Cave 45, I like this play because it's something you have to do. It's relatively quick, and if you find the boots, there's another opportunity to be go-moding Swamp.
Yeah, I mean, I like the play from Gemini here absolutely as well, for that exact reason. I think we've only found one item here, and it is the Titan's Mitts. So if it ends up being the second item is in the back half, and it ends up being boots, this is going to be huge for Gemini.
Yeah, it'll be very beneficial. And see, this is another reason why you might have wanted to have the book now, and you come here, you can just double check pedestal, make sure.
Yeah, Ped's dead.
Well, Ped's dead because the boots, yeah, and desert.
All right, so Zero going through here. It's a race to the boots, which is kind of a weird thing to think about.
Who will get the go fast first? Well, still short a key there, Zero. You're gonna have to head over.
Yeah, he did not pick up this other key over here.
And he does want to try to make a play to skip the left side. I don't blame him for this at this point. He's got the big key, so there's two items over on the left side that could potentially be go mode item, but so many more here on the right side that's along the way.
Yeah, and if you end up finding it in this back half, then you don't have to double dip. I mean, you're completing what actually the routing has to be done anyway, kind of leaving the optional thing. Gemini not finding the second item yet, so it will be checking this last treasure chest in the back of Skull Woods. This could be something here as well. Zero is also checking treasure chests.
Oof, red, but not the right red item for Gemini.
Dual competing boomerangs there. Zero picking the blue boomerang, Gemini picking up the red. So Gemini now fluting away.
Oh,
there they are. And that's why you skip left side if you're only one item from go mode. zer0rush is going to be in go mode, just has to pick up that Canis Amaria. Oh, it's a straight line shot. Zero will have to go up and do Skull Woods. But then Misery Mire as well. Gemini will be getting there shortly. They're really kind of neck and neck right now, aren't they?
Yeah, absolutely. If Gemini also makes the left side skip, it's going to be very close to...
Holy Jesus, Zero!
What a destruction of the Argus puffs there. And Argus decided to take an awful long time to fly away there. I think it didn't even know it hit him.
Well, I think he was in, he had just started his first cycle through there. So zer0rush didn't quite get the zero cycle. Very nice poke strats there. That's textbook poke strats for zer0rush.
Yeah, that was amazing. Yeah, what happened there, for those of you who are a little unaware, when Argus stops to spin his puffs, even though he had no puffs left at that point, he was still kind of stuck in that animation cycle.
So Zero's on his way, gonna pick up his cane, run over, likely gonna do some, well, I don't know, because both are pretty close to one another. Probably flute away into Mire first.
Yeah, it's a definite 6 of one, half dozen of the other here, I think. Either way, you're fluting to make a transition. And it looks like Meyer's the choice.
Zero officially in go mode, so Gemini still walking around a little bit slow. This is getting ready to be quick for both these runners. 129 is an amazing go mode time for as much as this seed has put both of these runners through. I think they're both worried that they're behind, even though Zero's in go mode, just because that mirror was available so early from Catfish.
Mm-hmm. And it will be a thing that both runners, I think, are concerned about. Like, I could have done that as I left Palace of Darkness, or right as soon as I did my Pyramid Ledge, so early on after Ganon, and it'll weigh heavily on their minds. But the benefit of having already cleared Misery Mire means that you can head right to the back half, and we'll see just how good zer0rush is at the back half of Misery Mire. Gemini, meanwhile, is also making the call to skip left side, which is the right call to make in this particular instance. So good for him.
Oh, are we going to see? No, I don't know if we're going to see new Misery Mire tech.
And I think we may.
You know, need to throw the block in. Oh, he's mad at himself.
He just hit with the fire rod there, the block. He didn't actually have to, and that's the thing, because this is a repeat visit to Misery Mire. So now he'll have to do the bomb. Oh, don't forget that chest, Gemini.
Oh, that would have been bad. But Gemini, whew, okay, got it. Wait, what?
Is he going back? No.
Wait. Did zer0rush just glitch out that? Wait, what? Like, I know the new. He didn't need to hit the switch. He like hit it from below somehow.
I didn't see what he did. Yeah, he did do the setup, so he was able to do it from that point. There's a different setup now with the block that like somebody found an improvement on it as well.
Okay, so
that is the new Mire trick. It's the new Mire trick.
Man, I am so far behind. If something changes in a week, I'm done.
Yeah. So basically, the original one had them throwing the block down, but turns out there's another way to set it up that I'm not entirely familiar with. But I saw him do it when he shot through the wall, and that's when he actually hit the orange pegs up, which he was frustrated with because he didn't actually have to do that then.
Well, okay. So that's a thing. New tech, everyone. This game came out in 1991, and we're still finding exploits.
Somebody should grab a clip of that in the chat, because that's a cool one. And we'll have an opportunity to see if Gemini could do the same thing here when he heads into Misery Mire now. And that is a good name. It's a spooky action.
I still like the name Mire Rod myself, because it requires the fire rod, and it's a Misery Mire Rod. Get it?
It's true. Although it is replicatable in other locations, Mire's the only place that it actually saves any time that anyone's discovered so far. So this Mothula fight's probably going to be incredibly quick.
GG, and that is our 7th crystal.
Absolutely. And so that means, ladies and gentlemen in chat, that it is time to play the big key guessing game. So get your numbers in between the numbers 1 and 22 for the location of the Ganon's Tower Big Key. If you are a subscriber to any of the Speed Gaming family of channels, or you have donated 250 bits to one of the channels, you'll be eligible to participate in this game. And in the event that you are the supreme psychic guesser, your name will be forever emblazoned upon the leaderboard, or at least until we decide to clear it.
Yep, so Crowzone, what is going to be your guess here?
I've been all over the place these last couple of matches, so I'm going to just go with another random number, one that I haven't chosen before, number 5. How about you?
Well, I was waiting to see what hasn't been taken by chat, but I think everything was taken by chat. So I am instead going to opt for number 1 because I want to get my disappointment over with quickly.
All right, and with that, Gemini also finishing up his 7th crystal, so very quickly behind.
All right, so enter zer0rush into Ganon's Tower. Gemini is really right on his tail.
Yeah, a minute 40 is going to really be something that can be surpassed if zer0rush goes a path that does not lead him to success. He's going to go full right side at this point. He picked up a key, so that's the decision that he's made.
Yeah, I mean, a left-right gamble could absolutely do it here for zer0rush if Gemini ends up opting to go to the left side. It could be the difference here.
Yeah, we could definitely see a position swap here just based on this alone.
And 3, small key, 4, 5!
Hey, 5!
Oh, okay, well, there goes that idea for Gemini.
A winner is me. So, I don't know who else picked 5, but whoever it was, oh, Pyre. Sorry, I'm the winner, not you. But congratulations for making such a Kruskin-like call. And your name will now be emblazoned upon the leaderboard. If it's already on there, it will be iterated one more time. As I said, until the time comes that it's time to be erased. It's just a whiteboard. It's not really a big thing.
Yeah, I mean, it's one of those, oh, we recognize your name now, which, you know, if you want us to recognize your name, great. We like you.
And here we'll see if Gemini makes the right call to follow in zer0rush's footsteps. Unfortunately for him, he's going to head back up and go to the left side, which is going to slow down his ascent through Ganon's Tower, making it just that more difficult for him to catch up to zer0rush at this point.
Yeah, left side, not going to be a good call for Gemini here, unfortunately. We know where the big key is, and it is literally the farthest route that he could possibly go to right now. Wow. And it was less than a minute between the entrances of the two Ganon's Towers. Just an incredible race by both of these runners.
Yep. And with Silvers and Tempered Sword, it's a very unlikely event that Zero Rush is going to fall to Ganon or make a critical error that's going to allow Gemini to catch up at this point. But you never know what's going to happen. Somebody could even fall off that incredibly narrow 3-wide tile bridge at the very end of the game. So we'll see. One thing Zero does have is a very low amount of magic power here. I believe he probably has a green pot still.
Yeah, I think he does, which I can imagine he'll probably end up using directly.
Yeah, since he switches to Lantern, he wants to hold on to it just in case. Or perhaps he's forgotten that it's sitting in his inventory.
He's got to use it now anyway.
Yeah,
so.
he'll have to use it for the Fire Rod shot.
And he is just so clean. You think he's done this Ganon Tower climb a couple times?
You know, it's probably likely. Yeah, you know, maybe 1, 2, 3, 400 times. You never know.
I think that's even lowballing it. If I'm honest.
To be honest, yeah, probably. He's a little low on life. Has the magic powder though here to replenish off these 2 fairies.
Only getting 1. He's like, nah, I don't need anything from here on out.
And you know what? Also, skipping that full magic powder pickup.
Oh, is he?
Go for it. Oh no! Attempt
denied.
Will he do it again? How many attempts will he make before he thinks, yeah, you know what? I'll just kill Trildorn.
That's a sign of how behind he thinks he is.
Alright, so traditional kill. Yeah, that's about as good a hover as I do. Perhaps even a little bit better. So...
I was going to say, I think he got a few pixels in, which is a whole lot better than I would do.
But I'm sure Trad appreciates the attempt.
Oh, absolutely. Meanwhile, Gemini opening up these other treasures and finding hearts, a little bit of love, and a little bit of money. That's the last thing you want to see, knowing that you had access to that. Double for Zero Rush.
That first double. And another double. That was an awkward positioning, but he managed to pull it off very nicely.
This looks like a good triple, but he doesn't need it. Just double, double, double.
Yep. Again found his last remaining blue ball to throw at Zero Rush there, but to no avail.
So Zero Rush is on his way to Mr. Blue Bacon himself. What are we gonna get? What is Ganon gonna say?
I think it'll be something about... Oh, no, it's not the one I thought it was going to be.
Thinking outside the box. Gemini finding the big key instead of number 5 in number 20.
Yeah. So Zero Rush gets through phase 2.
No, not quite through phase 2. Yeah.
He miscounted there.
And you can tell he's angry with himself. He's thinking that cost him the race.
Yeah, I wonder if when we get a chance to speak with him at the end of this, if he's gonna indicate that he felt like Gemini was either breathing down his neck or slightly ahead of him at this point.
At this point, you don't take risks because yeah, you can get through Ganon just like a little bit faster. But man, a fall would kill you.
So he gets the initial one off and the torch glitch, followed by a double. So 3 and 4, 1 cycle of the torches, and Ganon goes down. Very nice. GG to Zero Rush. Please don't slip on the bridge. And and he is going to complete this particular seed with an official speed racing TV time of 1 hour, 44 minutes, and 38 seconds, moving him into a 6-0 position for the spring 2018 randomizer tournament. We're going to ask Zero if he's going to join us for an interview as we watch Gemini complete his gauntlet trek up the tower.
And joining us now, zer0rush. GG, sir.
GG's. How's it going?
It looked like there on that Ganon fight, you were worried that may have lost you the race, not quite getting that one cycle on phase 2.
Yeah, sometimes you accidentally hookshot the torch and it feels real bad. But I thought the Moldorm fall, if anything, might have done it. I'm interested to find out what route my opponent took, because I'm pretty sure I full cleared everything I had access to until I found Boots.
You both had very similar routing choices, actually. Neither of you went and checked Catfish, which of course had the mirror. So from that point on, it was pretty linear at that point. But I mean, if anything, it was just kind of swapping places in dungeons. You had kind of some early route similarities, and it just came down to who found either the mirror or the Boots first. And you went to Catfish, and that was that.
Yeah, well, it was the last spot I had left at that point, so it was either Catfish or I forgot something, because I couldn't think of anything else. So just glad it was there at least. But I mean, early Mitts is a curse. Like, I think it was only Fire Rod that was locked behind Mitts.
Yeah, there was just nothing up on Dark Death Mountain. I gotta ask, you went up to Dark Death Mountain one time. You already had the hammer. You then left Dark Death Mountain and avoided going to Tower of Hera. Ended up having to come back later. What was your thought process going through there? Did you feel like that might have cost you the game there?
I don't think it would have cost me the game, but I had every intention of going to Hera first, and then I kind of just picked up the block and went into Dark World. And so I was like, well, I have to come back here anyway, so I might as well go check the, I think it was the Mire area, maybe I did after that, or something else. But yeah, that was just a mistake. Just muscle memory.
Yeah, absolutely. The seed itself started out really nice with the bow, and then kind of stalled out on you guys. When you were just at the early points of the game, like the first 30 minutes or so, were you feeling like this was going to be a very quick seed, or were you getting suspicious right off the bat?
It's hard to say that early, just because ultimately what it comes down to is where in the logic did the seed place the Titan Mitts. Because we went into Dark World, and I think at that point, other than like a potential medallion, we knew we needed Mirror for Fire Rod if he had checked that at all, and Boots for Red Cane, and then Hammer and Titan Mitts, and that was all we needed. And then Titan Mitts and Hammer were obviously immediately, so that opens up the entire game. So the entire time I was clearing Mitts locations, I was like, this is going to be one of those seeds where Mitts was last item placed, and I'm searching everything for no reason, and that's exactly what it was. But it could have very easily been like an hour and 15 minute or less seed if Boots were early and Mitts were late.
Yeah, and you guys did. That was one of the early Dark World action is actually where one of the major divergences took place. You of course went right into Palace of Darkness, I believe, fairly early on. Got your hammer, which then gave you a little bit more places to go. Gemini elected to take the path along with the hookshot along the north part to Village of Outcasts. So didn't have that hammer, which meant that anything he did gave you an advantage of having access to various Dark World portals that he didn't have for a while.
Right.
As well, he almost but did not go up to Catfish at that point, which would have made a difference for him, but he did not. So
yeah, as soon as I found Mirror, I was very concerned about that, because it was like, well, either my opponent went to pot first, and that wasn't an advantage for me, or he did the hookshot route first. And I know going to Catfish before hookshot has been really popular lately from the races I've seen. So I was just, after that point, I just had no idea where I was at. Luckily, the big key was like the 5th chest for me, so that was nice in Ganon's Tower.
Yes, and then you guys entered Ganon's Tower about 1.5 minutes apart, but Gemini chose to take the first 2 checks on the right side, then headed left side. So his GT big key was chest number 20 for him, whereas for you it was the 5th. So that's where you pulled ahead just a few more minutes time. And with that, Gemini has completed the seed as well, with an official Speed Racing TV time of 1 hour, 50 minutes, and 2 seconds. So just a little shy, a little bit over 6 minutes separating the two of you. So GG, and we'll see if Gemini will be joining us momentarily.
And GG to Gemini. Are you here with us?
Yep, GG.
Begin.
So this was a much closer race even than the final time. Just to give you, it was less than a minute really going into Ganon's Tower. He went right, had a little bit of a head start on you. You went left, and of course it was right there on the right side. So that kind of inflated the time, but it was very, very close through most of it. It really came down to who went to Catfish first, and neither of you went there. We were literally like ticking off items. Where could this possibly be?
I'm actually very surprised it was this close. After all the gambles I took that didn't pay off, I more or less resigned the race about halfway through.
It's impossible for you to have known, but Zero and you both basically kind of had very similar gambles throughout the whole course. You both went down to Ice Palace at one point to full clear that, looking for items. Your routing decisions were very similar, except for a couple of tiny divergences that ended up not paying off, and as a result, well, it looked like one of you might get ahead. You'd all come back again and kind of meet up again after, one of you went to one dungeon, one of you went to another place, and then you swapped positions. So I could see how you would feel that way, but it was tremendously close, just those decisions. The ones that mattered all seemed to come near the end. So like the decision for Catfish, for example. You both went into Swamp Palace immediately as soon as you had your mirror. Both of you skipped left side of Swamp Palace to get those boots. Although at one point, Gemini, you did kind of walk past the push block for that chest. I'm sure it wasn't that you intended to, but it was almost like, oh no!
I think for the whole second half of that race, I was a bit more tilted than I should have been.
Yeah, same here. I feel you. I even messed up the Meyer switch. Because I cleared Meyer beforehand and went back in there a second time after I got Kane and hit the switch in the first room of the basement with the fire rod, but obviously I didn't need to, which screwed up everything for me. It cost me like 30 seconds probably. There's just a lot of stuff like that. It's very tilty at the end.
Yeah, I feel that. Yeah, there's no way I'm going left side swamp there with all those failed gambles and just one item to go mode. There's no.
Yeah, and it's apparent that both of you were of the same mind. Like even the double dip in Misery Mire, you both made that play. Like there was a lot of similar pathing. It was, as Vatasia said, simply down to whoever got around to Catfish first to get that chain leading you through the end of the game that really made the difference. And as mentioned before, we were around a minute mark difference all the way up to Ganon's Tower. So it was a great matchup. The chat was incredibly engaged. They were super excited to watch. So thank you very much to both of you for putting on such a fantastic show.
Thank you for commentating. Thanks everyone for watching, and GG's, Gemini. It's a good race.
GG's. I was actually thinking it wasn't going to be a good game because I was like throwing everything, but I suppose if we're that close, it must have been at least a little bit fun to watch.
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. And so for Zero, that does mean that you've progressed up to 6-0, one game away from a perfect Swiss round. So congratulations on that particular feat. Hopefully, we'll enjoy seeing or looking for you in the next round in a couple of weeks. Gemini, 5-1 is nothing to be ashamed with because you're also still guaranteed into the bracket stages. So both of you must feel pretty good about the tournament progress so far. Are you looking forward to either of you looking forward to the bracket stage, or is it were you surprised to be where you're at positionally, or any kind of feedback along those lines?
I think the nature of Swiss just means it's the luck of the draw. I could have met some really, really tough opponents on the way, or I could have met some less experienced on the way, and I think that really dictates what your end Swiss score is going to be. As for brackets, I've never been in a bracket before, so it's a whole new experience for me. I'm just going to treat it the same way, to be honest.
Yeah, same for me. I mean, I'm already in brackets, and from here on out, winning or losing doesn't matter a whole lot or at all as far as seeding, because I think it's random. So I'm just gonna try and enjoy the races and play. More concerned with my upcoming NMG match against Gerdo, who's also very good at Randomizer. So not super focused on Randomizer now that I made it into brackets, but once brackets do happen, I'm sure it'll be super tense.
Absolutely. So just on behalf of all of the viewers and fans, thanks both of you guys for putting on a great show. Again, I'll remind the chat, if you like what you see here and you feel that these two guys did a great job, go ahead and throw them a follow on their channels, respectively. It's just a nice thing to do. It's polite, right? On behalf of myself, Crozonady, and Vitasia, we'd like to thank everybody for following, as well as a huge thank you to our tracker today. Without him, without J-Lo, keeping all those lights lit up at the bottom of the screen, it's not as much fun to watch, and also it gives us a huge hand in making sure that we don't miss anything. So a follow for him as well would be super fantastic. There are a couple of matches still going on today, coming up in, actually starting just about now. Jet 82 versus Thaleen will be playing on Speed Gaming 2. An hour after that at 8 p.m. Tear versus Sailor Jade on Speed Gaming 3. And then later on in the night at 10 p.m., Dr. Bob Tastic versus Emlyn, which, by the way, was going to be a showdown of commentators, as they were commentating a race earlier on today. But turns out one of them had to pull out of the comms in order to make sure that they'd be available for the tournament. So lots of rando to watch. Please make sure to keep up and follow as many races as you feel like you would like to see. It gives us the motivation to keep doing what we're doing. Once again, thanks a lot. Vitasia, any final words that you'd like to add before we head on out to the next match?
Oh, I think you just about covered it. Just a reminder to everyone who comes out. Remember, this is week 6 of the randomizer. Week 6 is over 2 weeks, so we're not going to get like a fresh batch this Sunday or this Monday like we do normally. The rest of this week is going to be extended through next week. So just keep that in mind as we're going through all of this. Next week might be a little bit sparse, but that's okay. We're still going to have plenty of randomizer for you guys. We'll figure it out.
Yeah, just looking at the schedule already, although many of them haven't been posted, there's probably a good 50 matches that are still taking place next week, and they're just as likely to get restreamed, so there'll be lots to watch. And with that, thanks again for watching, and we'll catch you all in the next match.
Peace.